Hi everybody, I'm Matt Brown and I'm back with more rock lessons here. And this time around we're going to kind of do a theory slash technique lesson, kind of similar to what we've been doing, but we'll look a little bit more into theory. Now in past lessons I've talked about what are called diatonic triads. So essentially there's a diatonic chord built off of each note in a diatonic scale. So, for example, if we were looking at the major scale, we've got our 1 chord is always major, 2 is minor, 3 is always minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, 7 is diminished, and then we're back to 1. So now, this time around, what we're going to do is we're going to build upon that, and we're going to be going beyond the structure of just a triad. We're going to be playing diatonic 7th chords. So basically what we're going to do is just stack another third on top of those notes. So in the case of our 1 chord, C, if we add a third on top of that G, we get B. So we get, which makes a C major 7 chord. So our 1 chord is a major 7. If we added a third above that A of our D chord, D minor chord, we get a C there, which spells out a D minor 7 chord with E minor. If we added a third above that B note here, we get E, G, B, D, which makes an E minor 7 chord. So moving on to F. If we add a third above that C, we get F major 7. Now moving on to the 5 chord, G. If we add that F above there, we actually get a G dominant 7 chord. Going up to A minor. If we add the third above that E, we get an A minor 7 chord. Then continuing on to our B diminished triad, if we add a third above that F, we get a B half diminished 7th chord. And remember from our Villa Lobos lesson that half diminished 7th chord can also be called a minor 7 flat 5. And remember that minor 7 flat 5 is more of a jazz chord name, and half diminished 7th is more of a classical rock and basically all the other styles that aren't jazz. So that's where you'll see the half diminished 7th idea. So to review, we've got 1 is major 7, 2 is minor 7, 3 is minor 7, 4, that's major 7, 5 is dominant 7th, 6 is a minor 7, and 7 is a half diminished 7th chord. So what we're going to be doing in this lesson is playing these diatonic 7th chords within a horizontal, or sorry, not a horizontal, a vertical scale pattern. So for these examples, I'll be using our C major scale pattern that we've learned, just because C major is the easiest key to start with since you have no sharps and flats. And I'll be playing, showing you how to play these diatonic 7th chords as arpeggios within this pattern. So stay tuned for that. Essentially what this lesson is going to train you to do is get your knowledge of the fretboard up and going, because you're going to have to be able to pick out where these diatonic 7th chords are within a vertical pattern. So if you know your 1 chord is C major 7, you're going to have to know the notes that are in that. Then the next chord is a minor 7, so you're going to have to know where those notes are within the pattern. So really, this is just another exercise to increase your knowledge of what you can do within a horizontal, or I keep saying horizontal, a vertical scale pattern. So if we're using this pattern, our C major 7th chord, let's think that's spelled C, E, G, B. So we've got to find those notes there. The next, D minor 7, how is that spelled? D, F, A, C. Moving on to E minor, we've got E, G, B, D. F major 7 is F, A, C, E. G7 is G, B, D, F. A minor 7 is A, C, E, G. Then B half diminished 7, B, D, F, A. And then essentially we're back to home to our one chord, but we're playing now in a higher octave. So the exercise, what you want to do is not sit and have to think about where these notes are and how these chords are spelled. It's got to become automatic. So the exercise will go like this. And at this point, we've reached our highest note in the pattern. So we're just going to go backwards through those arpeggios. Home again. So now this is not easy to do. This really takes a lot of quick thinking on the fly, which becomes very, very important when you're improvising, because that's essentially what you're doing. Is you've got to think of your licks and your ideas real fast. So these kind of just boring technical exercises, if you work on these. This is another one that I do only once a week, like the horizontal intervals. Otherwise, I totally just, I go crazy. I hate practicing stuff like this. That's so boring. I'd rather, play music that's fun. But if you force yourself to do it at least once a week, if you have more time to practice, if you play like 6 hours a day, you might want to practice it every day. Now, I've just covered the major tonality with these diatonic seventh chords. In parts 2 and 3 of these diatonic seventh chord lessons, as far as the vertical, horizontal diatonic seventh chords go, I'll be getting into the natural minor tonality and the harmonic minor tonality. So I'll show you how to do these within those vertical patterns. But for now, for extra practice, I've shown you 5 major scale patterns. So let's say if we were doing the key of G major here and using this 7th position pattern, we can use all of those different patterns in all 12 keys. So you don't just want to sit and do C major in this pattern every day. The next time you do C major, use maybe this pattern. And so on. So you want to play in different keys and use different patterns when you're practicing these. Otherwise, you're just going to memorize like the shape of how it goes in a particular pattern. So that's not what you want to do. You want to be thinking of the notes that spell out those chords within that tonality. So that'll do it for this lesson. In the next lesson, I'll kind of do the same idea. We'll be playing diatonic seventh chords, but we'll be doing them horizontally instead of vertically.